Hello and welcome. This is episode 7 of the Cedar Arrows Podcast. My name is Rebecca, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as HappyHomemaker05. This podcast is just a place where I enjoy talking about all the things that I love. Mostly knitting here, but you never know what else you might find. Reading, homeschooling, homesteading, all the things. I live on a small homestead in Alabama with my husband and our 6 children. Today is December 30th. It is a Saturday in the South, and there is college football going on. There are bowl games being played today, and I have some very loud sports fans in my house, so you might hear some background noise, but I thought this at least would be a time when they are not likely to need me. So I am holed up in my little knitting room and ready to chat with you and catch up on all that's been going on the last couple of weeks. So cozy in and let's chat. We are in that delightful time between Christmas and New Year's Eve where we have had several laid back days and been able to just rest and get some projects done around the house, and that has been lovely. I definitely have struggled to know what day it is every day this week, but it has just been so nice. So tomorrow we are going to, of course, we have worship on Sundays, but Sunday evening after everybody's worship services are over, we're going to have a few friends here and have what I've been joking is going to be a knot party. I think I worded it as a very low-key get-together, just to hang out and visit with some friends. There will be a few of us knitting and some games, and I'm sure there will be some singing at some point. So we're looking forward to that, but I'm also very excited to just kind of be low-key as we ring in the new year. So, let's see, since the last time I recorded, I have several finished objects. I have a few new whips to share, so lots to talk about. But before we get started with all of that, I like to show you what I'm wearing. This is the Appia cowl. This is a pattern by Hilary Smith Callis. I have talked about her patterns before. You've seen me wear a few of her different cowls. I love the ease of wearing a cowl, and I love her patterns. This one is knit in Artistic Lily sock yarn. I don't remember the colorway right off the top of my head, but she is no longer dyeing, but I have several projects that I knit with her yarns. I loved Artistic Lily yarns, and this is a piece that I don't wear as often, really. I wear a lot of gray in my wardrobe, so this doesn't match as many things, or it is too monochromatic with a lot of what I wear, but I just think it's lovely. So it's a very nice one skein of fingering weight project, and I really enjoyed making it. So moving into finished objects, that's what I like to talk about first. I will show you this beautiful finished Habitation throw. I'm so excited. So you have seen this first few colors. Of course, it's nearly impossible to show a blanket on camera, but I just love it. I love these colors. So I have talked the last couple of times about this advent calendar that Deborah of Candy Shop Yarns gave me as a gift, and I had just so much fun this month opening these minis every morning and knitting them into this blanket, and I am just thrilled with the finished object. You can't really tell it here, but it is quite asymmetrical, and I struggled with that for a little while about if I should do something different, and I just decided to keep going. But I realized, as I got near the end, I realized that if I kept going with my decreases at the rate that the pattern is written, I was going to run out of blanket before I ran out of colors. And I really wanted every day to be included in this blanket. And so I just slowed down my decreases. So this corner, this last corner, it's much longer. It is not a very symmetrical square. But I just made that decision so that I could fit all the colors in. And you know, when it's bunched up, hanging on the back of my chair, or folded up, or wrapped around me, you can't tell. So it's a perfect lap blanket, and I'm so thrilled with it, and I think these colors are just beautiful. And then I saved the last little bit of a corner. I don't know if you can see that, but I saved that last little bit to knit with the skein from day 25, the full skein. So I just am thrilled with it. It's so light and soft and delightful. I just love it. So I really did not expect to stay caught up on this. I had some gift knitting still to do throughout the month, and I just wasn't going to stress about making sure that I got every day done on that day. But I finished this on the 25th before everybody else was up Christmas morning. I finished that last little corner. I didn't finish every day's yarn on that day, but I never was more than a day behind, I guess. And so it was just a really fun December project that I could work on in the evenings, or often first thing in the morning before everybody was awake. So I just love it. The whole thing was just an experience that I will never forget, and it turned into a beautiful gift from my friend Deborah that I will enjoy for years. So could not be more thrilled with that. Let me see, my next finished object is this hot water bottle cover. I don't know how well that's going to show. Of course, there's a window behind my camera, so I really can't tell. But if it's not showing well on the camera, then I'll share a picture. But I think I cast this on maybe after I recorded, like that evening after I recorded last time, or maybe the next morning. A friend of mine shared a picture on Instagram of her hot water bottle that she had recently purchased, and she had knit herself a cabled cover for it, and I thought that is the perfect thing to stick in my husband's stocking. So I very quickly found a water bottle and found a free pattern. This pattern is by Laura Bain, and I think it's on yarnspirations.com, but you can find it on Ravelry. And I have project page for it. So anyway, I don't know if you can see that or not. On my screen it's just a big black blob, but I used Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Aurora Heather colorway. I had actually ordered more yarn than I needed for my daughter's hat, and so I was able to just knit this from that extra yarn, which was awesome. And my brothers have been making fun of me because they say it's an old person gift. And they've been laughing at my husband for enjoying it, but he does like it, and I can't wait. We keep our house pretty cool, and so I'm excited to use this at the foot of our bed in the winter. So anyway, it is just lovely. I think it's great. It was a fun, easy pattern. I love the cabling. It was very simple, but it was a type of cable I had not done before, so that was fun. So I knit this up in just a couple of days, and then I knit another one for a friend for a Christmas gift, and I've already given that to her, but I'll share a picture here. For that one, I used Juniper Moon Farm's Moonshine base. It's a beautiful single ply worsted yarn. Absolutely a dream to knit with. I enjoyed it so much. It's a very light weight worsted yarn. So nice. The pink is called Color 82. I couldn't find an actual name, but it was Color 82. And it was just so nice to knit with. So I gave that to my friend yesterday, and she really seemed excited about it. She knew about my husband's and thought that it seemed like a really nice thing to have, and so it was fun to give her one like it. My next finished object is these socks. You have seen these 3 or 4 times by now. These are the socks I knit for my husband. This yarn is Alaska Venture Co. in the pour over colorway. He is a coffee connoisseur or snob, whichever you want to say. And so I've talked about this before, but when I was looking for Alaska dyed, Alaska inspired yarn for our trip in September, and I found this dyer that I loved all of her colorways, and the coffee one was the perfect choice for my husband. So I have a project that I have finished in her yarn that I worked on while we were in Alaska, and then I also worked on these on that trip. So I got them done in time to stick in his stocking for Christmas, and he really likes them. I think they turned out so nice. I asked him after Christmas, he'd seen me working on them on and off for a few months, and I asked him, so did you know you were going to get those? And he's like, I didn't think about it. Like, I can sit next to these people and knit their gifts for them, and they don't give it any thought, whereas I would be asking all the questions. What is that? Who's that for? So it's nice, actually. Nice for me. Let me see what's next. Okay. Excuse me. The next finished object is the December Bow by Petite Knit. This is also knit in Juniper Moon Farm's Moonshine base. So it's the pattern, I think, is written for a DK weight yarn, and I used worsted because I had this gorgeous yarn and just wanted to. It has a good bit of alpaca in it, so it's got a similar halo to I think the original calls for mohair, maybe? I don't remember. But anyway, I think this turned out really sweet. I just have a simple cord to hang it. This will be a gift. And I love how it turned out. I did knit it a bit longer because I was knitting it with a worsted weight yarn. I knit the length longer before decreasing and tying it into a bow. It's because of the floppiness of this yarn, it doesn't hold up. Like, the structure is not great. I think it's really cute, but if you wanted one that kind of stood up more, this might not be the best yarn base. But isn't it sweet? I just love it. So like I said, this is also Juniper Moon Farm's Moonshine, and this was color 8. It also did not have a colorway name, but it was color 8. I had to pause and let my dog in. She was whining on the other side of the door. So now she's laying on the couch in here. She just likes to be where I am, and I can't complain about that. So where was I? So I have shown you my blanket, my husband's socks, the water bottle covers, the bow. Okay, so next I have a pair of mittens. And there's the second one. These are the Samoset Mittens, and I forgot to write down the name of the designer, but they are on Ravelry. I'll link them. I knit these in Kelbourne Woolens Germantown yarn. It is just lovely. It's such a nice, it's a worsted weight, just woolly wool, and the mittens are so nice and squishy. I think they turned out beautifully. I cast these on several days ago, but really I knit each mitten in just about a day. I sat down yesterday evening around supper time with just maybe half of the cuff knit, and then I finished the rest of the main body of the mitten before I went to bed last night, and so I just finished the thumb today. And it was the same way with the other one. Pretty much one evening of solid focused work, knit up a mitten. Both nights we were watching a movie, so I sat there for 2 or 3 hours and knit up the whole thing. So I love how they're just it's it's great for gift knitting. I have so many things I'm trying to do that while I don't feel like every project has to be quick and I don't feel like I always have to be moving to the next thing, it is really nice when you're making a gift that you can get it done pretty quickly, because I don't know about you, but I often find myself kind of working at the last minute. So these will be a birthday gift for a friend of mine, and they will go into the mail next week, and I am so tickled with how they turned out. This is, I think I already said, this is Kelbourne Woolens Germantown base. The colorway is Myrtle, and I just think they're lovely. I bought this at Paper Crane Yarns in Calera, Alabama. She has several colors. I'd never seen it in person before, I don't think. But I picked that up at her Small Business Saturday sale a few weeks ago, and I just love the way it knit up. Oh, my last finished object might be my favorite. I think this is so cute. I knit a Knubbelchen. I'm not really sure how to say the word. It's a German word, but I knit this sweet little dolly for a new church baby who is coming soon. We have had such a baby boom in the last couple of years, and it has been so sweet. So many babies, and they have all been boys. For I think the last girl that was born in our congregation was like 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, I think. We have one other little girl, toddler, who's younger than that, and I think they started coming to church with us after she was born. So we only have a couple of little girls, but we have this whole squad of little boys. But anyway, we have a new little girl coming soon, and her shower is coming up, and I have had this pattern in my library since I started knitting, and I had forgotten about it, and I've seen a few different people posting and talking about it lately, and I thought that is perfect for that shower gift. So I have a picture book called Jesus Loves Me that I love to give with every baby gift. So I always knit something and then stick that little book in with it for the showers. And so this is all ready to go, and I think it is so sweet. I actually have some very close friends of ours are expecting a baby boy very soon, and once I saw how relatively easy this was to knit up and how cute it is, I think I'm going to make one for their little boy too. So the arms and legs are a little fiddly toward, because you're decreasing down to, I think, about 10 stitches for each of the appendages and for the hat. I took Emily of Salt City Knits advice and knit each of these appendages an extra 10 rows past what the pattern says, just to make the tying the knot a little easier, and that worked really well. And just when you get down to something like 10 stitches of fingering weight yarn on DPNs, that's a little fiddly. But it was easy, straightforward pattern, and I definitely will be knitting more. I think it's so sweet. I'll show you again. This yarn is from the Yarnbrary, also Emily of Salt City Knits. She doesn't dye anymore, and so all of her yarns are precious to me. I have knit several baby gifts with this one skein of sock yarn, and I am down to a tiny little 9-gram ball left. And I realized as I was finishing this doll that I don't have anything that I've made for myself in that yarn. So I'm thinking I will try to knit like a little bluebird of happiness or something, just to have a little bit of this yarn that I can keep. but I think it's so sweet. Made such a sweet little doll. This colorway was, if you're familiar with Emily's yarn business that she used to have, all of her colorways were inspired by literature, by books or authors. And this was one of her Little House on the Prairie colorways. This was Maple Sugar Party. And I loved it from the first time I saw it. It is so pretty. So I have enjoyed having that skein in my stash for a while now and have just knit little bits into baby gifts. And I think this turned out so sweet. And then the little bit of yarn I used for the head is from October House Fiber Arts, which is another of my favorite places to buy yarn. I love the soft colors that she uses. So, excuse me. So that is all my finished objects for this week, I believe. That's quite a bit. It feels good to have that many things that I have worked through. So moving on to whips, I have notes here right next to the camera, and I have them on my tablet so I can just easily copy and paste into show notes in the description below the video. And last time my tablet, timed out, the screen went blank, and I just ignored it. I went rogue and forgot things, and so I'm trying to keep referring to that a little better, be a little more organized this time. We'll see how it goes. So for current whips, I haven't really worked on my cardigan much. I've been kind of finishing up the Christmas gifts, and then I have several birthdays. I think I've mentioned several people that I make gifts for whose birthdays are in January, so that has kept me pretty busy. And I've been enjoying that. So I'm looking forward to pulling my cardigan out and making more progress, hopefully in the next few weeks, but it's kind of just been sitting since the last time I spoke with you. So my first whip that I have given a little bit of attention to this week is a sock for my daughter. My oldest daughter will turn 16 in about 2 weeks. She's very excited. And I always knit socks for birthdays as well as Christmas, so she always gets 2 pairs of socks pretty close together. So I just have a little cuff. I'm not quite finished with it yet. Just a few more rows left. But this will be, this is actually the second sock. I have the first sock here. This is the Heel Toe Do-Si-Do pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady. Has this really fun patterning. And this yarn, I just love this yarn. This is from Malia Mayed. This is her I See the Light colorway, which is a Rapunzel Tangled reference. And I mean, how perfect are these colors? I just love it. So several years ago, I went to Disney World with my brother and our cousin, who is like the Disney fanatic in our family. Well, the two of them. And I told them, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about it. So you just tell me what to do and where to be, and I will do it. And that was kind of perfect because they planned all the details and I just got to follow them around, and that was fantastic. But of course I had to do some themed knitting for that trip, like you do. So I ordered this yarn from Malia Mayed. I just love these colors. I think it's so pretty. And while we were there, I worked on a pair of shorty socks and then gave them to the cousin that I was there with. I have several pictures of that week working on socks. I posed with the yarn and Rapunzel, and I showed Mickey Mouse, and oh, it was so much fun just working on that really just the first sock through that week and on the plane ride home. So I ordered another mini skein from Malia Mayed because I thought if I have more contrast yarn, I can get a second pair of socks out of that skein. And I knit up the sock, and I was absolutely loving it. I had so much fun with it. I did an afterthought heel so that I wouldn't interrupt the striping along the front of the sock. And an afterthought heel just does not fit my foot very well. And I did a few extra rounds of knitting before starting the decreases, and I tweaked it and I kept trying different things. I blocked it pretty aggressively, and I just have a really high arch and I could not get it to fit comfortably. I think that this patterning probably draws the yarn in just enough to make a difference, because I do have some vanilla socks with an afterthought heel that work okay, but I think it was the combination of the afterthought heel and the patterning with my high arch. It was not comfortable. And so I never started the second sock. And this has been sitting on my little cart here for like 4 years. And it was such a pretty sock, I couldn't bring myself to rip it out, but I also didn't want to just knit the next one and it not fit. And so I never did decide what to do. But I really wanted, the reason I never decided was because I wanted this for me. And then I just recently decided, it's really the knitting itself that I love. I don't wear my hand knit socks all the time, and these colors are exactly perfect for my oldest daughter. And so I thought, why not just knit the second sock for her? They will fit her feet. Her foot is almost the same size as mine, but her arch is not nearly as tall. So it's kind of perfect for her. So I decided not to worry about keeping it for myself, just enjoy knitting it. And so I'm going to make the next one and give these to her for her birthday. So like I showed you, I'm almost finished with the cuff, and this has been in my purse, but it hasn't gotten much attention lately. So I'll be knitting this up over the next couple of weeks, but it's also kind of nice, for several reasons. It'll be nice to not have it just sitting there hibernating, because that kind of bothers me. And the yarn will be used and loved instead of sitting in a bag. And I only have to knit one sock for that pair. And so that will make it easier to get it done in time with no stress. And then I'll have enough yarn left over that I can put a square or even two in my scrap blanket, and so I'll still have some of the yarn, but then somebody else can love the socks, and she will use them. So I feel good about that decision. I didn't want it to just sit there and languish anymore, because it was such beautiful yarn. So it feels good to have decided something about that pair. Let me see. Next, I have another gift knit, but I have to show you this bag. I got this bag not that long ago from Barley Pearls on Etsy, and this fabric is Little Women fabric, and I cannot even. This is from Riley Blake, who always has the sweetest literary fabrics. I have a Peter Pan bag, and I have the Wizard of Oz bag, and a Beauty and the Beast bag. I just love their fabrics. But when I saw this, I could not believe how sweet it was. So it has all the sisters and Marmee, and there's Laurie on the bottom. I love it so much. So I got this before Christmas, but I had already pulled out all of my holiday and fall themed bags, and so I put it aside and saved it for this project, so it could be kind of a gift to me after the holidays. So in this bag, I am working on maybe Xenia cowl. I'm not sure how to say it. Xenia, I don't know. But this is another Hilary Smith Callis pattern. This yarn is from Paper Crane Yarns. It is her sock fingering weight yarn, and the colorway is called Roller Rink, which I thought was fun. It's just a lot of reds and purples and pinks. So I mentioned already that I got some of the other yarn that I'm working with from Paper Crane, but this is one of her handmade skeins. Ashley dyes such beautiful yarns and has a whole lovely wall in her shop of her hand-dyed yarns, and I love her work. I have several other skeins from her. I've got some up there on that cabinet that I'm really excited to knit with. This is the first one I've actually cast on from her, but I have a few that I can't wait to knit with. Oh, but anyway, this pattern, it's another cowl, similarly constructed to this one, where you start flat and work back and forth in rows until it reaches a certain certain length, and then you join it and knit in the round after that. And I have knit this particular pattern so many times, but in the actual pattern there's a slip stitch detail here. I like to trade that out for eyelets because I just like the look of that. I have knit it both ways multiple times. It's one of my favorite gift patterns because it is it's perfect for one skein of sock yarn. And she has, one of her samples is with 2 colors, and so the slip stitch details that would be here where I have the eyelets are done in a contrasting color, and that's really pretty. So nothing against her slip stitch pattern, but sometimes I just like to do the eyelets instead, and I use everything else from her pattern. Like I use her stitch counts and her shaping and everything, and just do a simple garter eyelet strip instead of the slip stitch detail. And anyway, I think that's just, it's really fun. It's very rhythmic. And the way the increases are worked on this one, there are several rows of just kind of mindless knitting. And so it's just a really good one for, I mean, I've mentioned before, I read out loud to my kids a lot, and I read to myself a lot while I'm knitting, and this is kind of the perfect reading project. One more peek at my bag because I think it's so sweet. I just love it. So this, I just cast on this project yesterday. It doesn't really have a deadline. It's just a because gift. And so whenever I get it done, it will go in the mail to a friend. And I really enjoy those. Giving and receiving gifts is my love language. And so being able to knit on something and think about and pray about that person that I'm thinking of and pick out colors that I think they'll like is just so much fun for me. So that's why often the gift knits kind of get put on the front burner, even if there's not a deadline, just because I love being able to share my knitting with other people. Let me see, the next thing, it's kind of just a coincidence that I'm working on 2 cowls at one time, and I'm in the middle of a row because that's just how it goes. But with my leftover Advent yarn, I had talked before about how I thought about, like, should I make the blanket bigger, and I decided not to. I thought it would be fun to make some other things with the leftovers. So I plan on putting, probably will put all of those colorways into my scrap blanket, but before that I am working on this. This is a little leftovers cowl, and I'm in the middle of a row, but it's knit very similarly to the one I just showed you. You're all probably familiar with this. It is knit in 24 sections that I think are almost all of them are 6 rows each. So it's just little bite-sized sections to use up leftovers from an Advent skein or Advent calendar. So I don't know, I think that's day 9 that I'm working on right now. And I didn't start this until I think the 26th. And so I had gone through and I'd opened all of my Advent yarns and I'd knit with all of my Advent yarns. And then when I started over at day 1, I was just so excited all over again. It's so pretty, and I can't wait to see how it grows as we start transitioning into the purples and the blues and greens. So that's a lot of fun. That one is, I think I said this already, but just in case, the pattern is Little Leftovers Cowl by Tellybean Knits, and again, this is from my Candy Shop Yarns Advent. That's really what I've been working on. I just finished the mittens this morning, So those and the 2 cowls are what I've been working on lately. But I, of course, always have more things in the works, more things that I'm planning. I mentioned a minute ago that I don't want to always feel rushed, like I have to go to the next thing and I have to go to the next thing. But there is a part of me that is always wanting to finish a project to get started with the next one, because there's just, it's the same with reading. There are so many projects, so many books that I want to get to. And, you know, I'm fully in love with the thing I'm working on right now, but then as soon as I finish it, I've already got the next thing ready to go, you know. So I try not to, I can, if I'm not careful, get into too much of a rush where I'm not enjoying it enough and I'm just thinking of the thing that's next. But lately I think I've been balancing pretty well, because I am fully enjoying the thing I'm working on while I'm working on it. So anyway, a couple of future knitting projects that I wanted to mention. I have plans to knit these, I think it's called Simply Scrappy Cowl by Helen Stewart, with these minis. Aren't they fun? It's kind of a messy bundle. It's been kind of handled a lot and they're kind of falling apart. But this is from Gem State Yarns. This was her November Scrappy Club. And I have never done, like, I used to not even care about buying minis, and now it's all I want to buy. Like, it took me a while to get on that bandwagon, but now I'm fully there. But this was the first mystery, scrappy, anything that I did, and I just love it. And they've been sitting here in my basket for a month now or more. And I just keep looking at them, and I have spent quite a bit of time looking at patterns for them. I knew that there were several really pretty inspiration photos in her listing when I ordered this, and it was like cranberries and light greens and hot chocolate kind of cocoa browns and off-whites, and I mean, that's what's here. It's like kind of wintry, but not strictly Christmas, which I really like. I just think they're so fun. And so this was her November set. Like I said, each mini, I got I think she called it the micro set, so each mini is 10 grams instead of 20. So after I bought it, I thought, should I have gotten the 20 grams? Because I'm a little more limited, but this is still 100 grams of yarn. So I think just a scrappy cowl will be perfect. And I think they're so pretty. So I hope to work on this soon. I do think it's, you know, they're wintry colors. So when I finish those other 2 cowls, maybe I'll start a third. But I just think they're so fun. So like I said, I've just been kind of looking at them for a month now, trying to decide what to do with them. And I just this week decided, and so now I'm anxious to cast on. But I'm going to need needles that are in one of those cowls, so I'll just have to wait. I love it. Yarn is just so exciting. I have a couple of friends that I have recently taught to knit, and one has been knitting a little over a year, and she just finished her first shawl, and it's beautiful. I'm so excited for her, and oh, I just wanted to hug her when she brought it to church and showed me. But we were talking with another friend who's not been knitting as long, and she's more of a beginner, and she said, well, I just keep wanting to buy yarn, and I feel like I shouldn't be buying more yarn yet. And the other 2 of us were like, oh no. The buying and the collecting, that's a whole other hobby from the knitting. It's just fun to have it to look at, right? So the next thing I wanted to mention that I want to knit, I'll probably cast this on this weekend, honestly. But I've already mentioned it. I want to knit another little dolly, but this one for a boy. So I'm going to use the same, I have quite a bit of this left over. This is the October House Fiber Arts. I think it's the silk merino base. It is scrumptious. It is so soft. I love it so much. But this is her sun bleached colorway. It's an off-white with kind of like a tiny hint of yellowish leaning, like ivory, not really yellow even. But anyway, it's beautiful and I love it. I used it for a shawl and I have quite a bit left over. So that's what I used for the little face. And then I think I'm going to use this for the body and the hat. This was from Duck Duck Wool. I won this in a giveaway several years ago. I knit myself a sock head hat with it. I don't remember what the colorway is called, but it's a really fun green. And you know, baby boys get lots of blue and baby girls get lots of pink, so I usually tend to do like a purple or a green or something that's a little different. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking I'll knit for him. I mean, I'm gonna knit that pattern, but I think that's the yarn I'm gonna use, whatever. So that's exciting. I'll probably cast that on this weekend. He is due any day now, and they live not near us, so I'll need to mail it. So that's probably gonna be kind of sliding into the front burner place once I get it cast on. And then I just wanted to show this gorgeous skein from Candy Shop Yarns. This was the Advent, the day 25. I feel like everybody has seen this by now. It's on Instagram, so I didn't really feel like I had to warn you before I showed it. But anyway, it is just all the colors from the Advent calendar, all in one skein. It is magical. I think it is so pretty. And it's also really neat because it's all the colors from her packaging. Like, I don't know how she does it. And I can't really tell. I'm afraid this is getting blown out, but she has posted pictures on Instagram. I have posted pictures on Instagram. I'm sure we're not the only ones, because I'm sure that everybody loves this who has one. But I think it's so pretty. So I've just been, I have a little basket on my bench next to where my chair usually sits when I'm knitting, and I just have kind of some things like these that I'm going to be knitting with soon. I just have sitting there. And I literally all day on Christmas, I kept picking it up and saying, look how pretty this is. And just admiring it. So I think this will just be a really simple shawl. I'm not certain yet, but I'm hoping to cast that on soon. That'll be fun. So I think that's really all the yarny things I have to share with you today. It's quite a bit of yarn. It has been such a fun knitting year. I set a goal. I don't know if you've done this, but Ravelry has a challenge feature where you can set a goal for yourself for your knitting for that year. And I think I just set a goal of 60 objects this year, which I felt like it's not as high as some years. But I think I'm at 55. I don't think I'm going to hit the 60. I mean, tomorrow is the last day of the year. But still, I have knit some really awesome things this year. So I don't feel too bad about that. I don't mind it too much. That kind of thing used to really drive me crazy. Like, I would just work my fingers off to hit that number. But just looking back at the things I have made and the things I have learned, it has been a really good, fun knitting year. And this last few weeks of knitting lots of things for other people has been really fun too. I've just really enjoyed this last month, this Christmas season. Usually we are traveling the week between Christmas and New Year's Eve. And this year, for several different reasons, it just didn't work out. We spend the weekend with friends every year and always have a wonderful time. But this year it just didn't work out for us to be away from home. And, you know, it's kind of disappointing to make those decisions when you have a traditional thing that you do. And our friends' children are friends with our children. And, you know, it's a thing that the whole family loves. So it was disappointing to decide to stay home and be responsible. But I have to say I have really enjoyed being at home this week. We've just had several days of just being at home, and that is so nice. Especially leading up to Christmas, it's always a lot going on, lots of activities, and my husband was out of town the first 2 weeks of December. So to be able to just be home for the last few days has been really nice. He's been off all week. He'll go back to work on Tuesday, but it has been a delightful 10 days by the time he goes back, where we've just been able to, we've done some projects outside. He and the children spent all afternoon Monday this week cutting and hauling and splitting firewood for our fire pit outside. We've visited with friends. We've eaten way too much junk food. We've watched movies. I have gotten a lot of knitting time. It's been so nice. Couple more things I wanted to share with you that I have been enjoying before I go. We do a lot of reading together, a lot of reading aloud, and every Christmas we have a few books that we read together, that I read to the family. And I wanted to talk about these for a minute before I pack them away with our Christmas things. My favorite illustrator is P.J. Lynch. He is just phenomenal. And these are two of our favorite books to read together in December. So The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, and of course, A Christmas Carol are two of our favorites. A Christmas Carol is one of my top 5 favorite books of all time. I read it. I can't tell you how many times I've read it. It is such a beautiful story. But then to take a story that is so masterfully written and then have it illustrated so perfectly, that just makes a really special book. I'm trying to find my favorite picture to show you. But if you're not familiar with P.J. Lynch, definitely look him up online. He is incredible. I don't know how well this will show, but that's the Cratchits on their Christmas evening. This beautiful picture of Scrooge once he becomes nice. I love Charles Dickens. I love his wordplay. I love how witty he was. I love how subtly hilarious he can be. And I think I've talked about this before, but I have read A Christmas Carol to my children every year since they were tiny. And my idea was always read Dickens to them before they can even really grasp it on their own, and eventually they'll grow into the story. Every year there's a little more that they can relate to or that they can understand. And they have really loved it. There was one year where they all acted like they were kind of tired of it, and they asked me not to read it to them. And I was a little bit annoyed, hurt, frustrated by that. But I decided, if they don't want to read it, I'm not going to force it. So I read them a different Dickens Christmas story. And they fell in love with that. And of course, I just read A Christmas Carol to myself as well. But so we read A Cricket on the Hearth that year. The Cricket on the Hearth. And so now they love both stories. But by the next year, it had been 2 years since they had read A Christmas Carol, and they were all asking to read it again. So I felt like that was a win. And I feel like I've probably told you that maybe even just last episode, but bear with me. This other one, The Gift of the Magi, is such a sweet story. And again, the illustrations are just gorgeous. The detail that this man can achieve astounds me. And again, I mean, you're probably familiar with the story. It is just a beautiful story, but I just love a pretty book. So we read both of those this year and enjoyed them so much. But I wanted to share especially those editions because they are gorgeous. There are several other P.J. Lynch books that I'm slowly trying to collect. I have When Jessie Came Over the Sea. Is that what it's called, maybe? About a girl immigrating to America. Several others. that are, all of his artwork is just gorgeous. And then one other book that I've been reading, I actually just started this one today, almost halfway through, is Finding Chica by Mitch Albom. I have recently started reading some of Mitch Albom's books, and I have this tendency that if I read one book by a new author and I like it, then I end up falling down their rabbit hole and reading all of their books. So in the last couple of weeks, I have read For One More Day, which is fiction, and then Tuesdays with Maury, which is nonfiction, and that one, I've heard that name for years. It's been around a long time, but I had never read it until last week, I think, and I absolutely loved it. It was so, so good. This one is also nonfiction. It's about a little girl from Haiti. I learned that Mitch Albom directs, or at least used to direct, an orphanage in Haiti, and this little orphan girl had some medical needs that could not be tended there, and so they brought her to the States for surgery, and this is kind of his story with her. And it is beautiful and heartbreaking, and I'm only about halfway through. So I'm not finished yet to give a full review or recommendation, but so far I would definitely recommend it. So that's what I'm reading today. I will probably finish that up today or tomorrow. His books are very quick reads, but they're beautifully written. A lot of deep, meaningful sentiments. Tuesdays with Maury was especially very touching. So yeah, check him out if you haven't read any of his stories before. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. We had Christmas. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. We like to do a very simple Christmas. We give each of our children one gift under the tree, and then I fill a stocking of fun little things. They usually get a few hand knit items in their stockings. We try to make it as old-fashioned, handmade, simple as we can. Another book that we always read is A Little House Christmas. So it's all the Christmas stories from Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House series compiled into one book, and I love those. That's the thing we've always tried to impress on the children, how thankful the children in these stories are with their very, very simple Christmases, and how rich our Christmases are, even though we try to keep them very simple. So this year was really nice. It's not as magical as, when they were toddlers and they just were so excited about everything, but it is still really fun. And it's a lot more laid back than the years when they were really small. We have several kids who want to sleep in late in the mornings now. I had one that my youngest was up at 6:30 or 7, just chomping at the bit. But we had I think we decided, everybody kind of agreed on 8:30. Like, the early risers could wait till then, and the ones who wanted to sleep in could compromise and get up by 8:30 to open gifts. So that was a lot of fun. We had fresh homemade cinnamon rolls, which is our traditional Christmas breakfast. But over the years, I feel like I've finally gotten it to where I want it. So those turned out beautifully. They were so good. We just kind of hung out and took it really easy all that day. My parents, my grandparents, and my older brother all came to visit for a little while that afternoon, which was really nice. It was just a very nice, lazy day. We always do a big Thanksgiving where I do a lot of cooking and we host, and that's always kind of that's when we have traditional meals that take a lot of work and that kind of thing. But I really like for Christmas to be just together downtime, and so that was really, really perfect. The thing we got our boys for Christmas this year was, instead of a physical gift, I bought them each a used copy of a Sherlock Holmes book. They were not all the same book, but we've been working through the Sherlock Holmes series for a little over a year now, and we'll be finishing them up pretty soon. and the Alabama Shakespeare Festival in Montgomery is doing a Sherlock Holmes play in April. So we gave them each a very inexpensive copy of a book, and then with that they each got a ticket for the show. That was their real gift. So my husband and I will take them to see that Sherlock Holmes play in April, and they are so excited. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. It was just a nice laid back day. And like I said, we've had every day since then has been pretty much that way. We have had some things we've needed to get done here and there. Like I said, we've done projects outside, but it's just been nice to not have to be on the go so much. One other exciting thing I wanted to share with you is that one of my photos from our trip to Alaska has been selected as a finalist to be featured in the Alaska Railroad calendar for 2025. I entered this contest by just using a hashtag. Any photo that is posted on Instagram or Facebook, I think, with this hashtag was entered into this competition. I did it just for fun, like added the hashtag to a couple of pictures, and then kind of moved on and forgot about it. But I got a message a week and a half or so ago saying that one of my photos was selected as a finalist. So it will be in their 2025 calendar, and it will be up for the grand prize, which will be chosen by vote on Facebook in another week or so. And the grand prize winner gets some additional prizes as well as being featured on the cover of the calendar. So that's exciting. I'm really excited just that that people liked my picture. I enjoy photography. It brings me a lot of joy. And so it was just exciting to get that message. So I will probably share when the voting starts, but whether or not it wins the grand prize, it's just excited to be included in the calendar. So I'm excited to get a copy of that calendar in the future and have that in my home. The Alaska Railroad was one of the best things we did on that trip. Hush, no ma'am. It was one of the best things we did. We had so much fun. We spent 2 days traveling from Fairbanks to Denali, and then from Denali to Anchorage on the trains, and it was just an amazing experience. So it's really fun to have, this is kind of the icing on top with all those memories, to have one of my pictures included in their calendar. So that was just really fun thing I wanted to share with you. Well, the dogs are restless. I have one on this side of the door and one on the other side, and they are talking to each other. And I've already been talking to you for a long time, so I guess I will go for now, and I will try to see you again in 2 weeks. I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you are all doing well, and I hope you have so much fun with your making. Thanks for joining me. Bye.